Let's get started.
Okay, thank you everyone. Hello, next slide please. Hello, my name is Karuna. I came from Indonesia. I've been working in tech industry since 20, 2005, and I worked at consulting company, so I work with people from dozens of countries. My hobby is hiking and Star Trek. Uh, Yeah, next one. My team is Cash.io. I work as a tech lead at Cash.io right now. Next slide, please.
Yes, hello, my name is Rory. I'm originally from the UK and I'm relatively fresh to Japan, so I moved to Tokyo in April. I come from a computer science background, largely studying in Europe, in the UK and Finland. And similar to Karuna, have worked in a tech consulting background. My hobbies involve skiing, Formula One, and I like going running when it's not too hot outside. But yes, to the next slide, please.
Okay, as you can see, there are many parts of Mercari application. Next slide, please. And today we are going to focus on Merpay. Next slide, please. Okay, so one of the mission of Merpay is building trust for a seamless society. Next slide, please. What is Merpay? Merpay is originally a mobile payment service. After we created Mercari, we also want to create mobile payment service. So with Merpay, user can make payments on Mercari, but also on stores all over Japan. There are currently 2 point something million stores in Japan, and we can pay using money obtained from selling items at Mercari, or obtaining from bank account, or using Merpay smart payments. Next slide, please. So sorry, some of the text is in Japanese. So our aim is circular finance. We want to create some kind of circular economy based on Mercari and Merpay. So user can sell their items on Mercari, and the sales proceed can be used at stores. Customer can also obtain more funds from credit. Next slide, please. In Merpay, there are 3 focus areas. The first one is payment. In payment, we provide virtual card, and we also provide ID. ID is a system using some kind of chip in Japan, and also code payment. And in the credit side, we also provide credit where user can pay to the following month. And for the payment, it can be one-time payment or can be divided into multiple payments, fixed amount every time. And also there's a part where user can see all of the balance, what have they obtained and what they have spent. Next slide, please. For payment,
Yes.
Rory will explain.
Yeah, so to the payment side, if you go to the next slide. So brief background on me. So I work in the payment platform team of Merpay. So that means that I deal with the kind of central services that manage all of the transactions which go through Merpay. And the number of users that we have of Merpay is quite high. So we have about over 12 million people using Merpay. And we are incredibly user-focused and data-focused. So there's certain metrics which we're really proud of, and one of these is the retention rate of our first-time users being 80%, which is a somewhat of a testimony to us trying to build the best service that we can. If you go to the next slide, one way that we are able to maintain this is actually by integrating with many merchants. The way that we get people to use this is by making it easy to be able to pay using Merpay in all places, shops, retailers, convenience stores, restaurants, etc., a taxi. All of this we need to integrate. We need to be able to work against in order for people to be able to use Merpay seamlessly. If you then go to the next slide. So one thing maybe to tie into how we tie into Mercari, the marketplace. All of the earlier presentations that you've heard today have been around the marketplace side, and it might seem a bit weird initially why we have a separate payments offering, but actually the reasoning behind this is because it facilitates this circular economy, which others have been speaking about already. You can sell things on Mercari and then use the balance which you have gotten from that on Merpay to be able to pay at new places. And then you can actually, with the items that you've gained, maybe you can sell others, and it becomes a cycle. And basically that means that they tie in together really, really nicely. It's a very good relationship between the two offerings that we have. If you go to the next slide. So one thing relating to my team specifically is, as I mentioned, I work in the payment platform, and we need to make sure that all of the different payments go through successfully. That's fundamentally what we're looking to do. There's many, many different ways that you can pay for things in Merpay and in Mercari. You can balance, bank transfer, credit card, Apple Pay, deferred payments. I'm sure there's others that I've missed as well. But all of these need to work well. You cannot have payments failing regularly because people will not use our service. It won't be trustworthy. So we need to make sure that everything is secure, fast, reliable, resilient. So if you go to the next slide. So one thing that relating to my service specifically is this payment core. And basically, the way that I like to summarize this is that we are actually the kind of, in a sense, the beating heart of all of these transactions. Every time anyone makes a payment with Merpay, every time anyone buys something on Mercari, every time that Amit was talking earlier about incentives, points being distributed, that goes through our payment service. So we have to handle all of these, and not really make mistakes when we're doing it, because this is people's money. So if you go to the next slide. This kind of presents itself as one of the interesting challenges that we have within Merpay, is that when you're dealing with people's money, you cannot make mistakes. You cannot just simply call something an error and say, sorry, I'm afraid your money is gone. So we have to have really strict measures in place in order to be able to go backwards. If we have reached a certain stage of a transaction, we need to be able to make all of those opposing steps. So we need to provide a certain level of guarantees. And it means that we need to build our services in a certain way so that we're actually able to have the trust that if something goes wrong, we can actually make sure that the money gets back to the customer. If you go to the next slide. So for me personally, like what do I enjoy the most? So Japan is on a progression. It's getting more cashless. I actually came from Finland, which is a country that I don't remember the last time I held any physical money while I was living there. Everything was cashless there. So moving here, you get to be part of that movement of actually helping a country the size of Japan go towards a cashless society. Naturally, as others have said, we're working on a large scale. This is already something which is growing quite a lot, and there's all challenges, and it goes without saying that the people here are quite nice as well. So yes, to continue to the next slide.
Yeah, so my role in Cash.io is a tech lead. We name it Cash.io because it's input and output. So Cash.io team responsibility is connecting Mercari group, not only Merpay but also Mercari, with financial institutions that deals with money. For example, banks and ATMs. Next slide, please. So in Cash.io, there are two major functions: cash in, and inside cash in, there's a funds recharge and top up. We have two different microservices. One is for connecting to banks, and one is for connecting to ATM. And the second is cash out. Cash out is where user who has sells money on Mercari can get their money to bank. Next slide, please. Yeah, main function is cash in and funds recharge. We provide bank account registrations, and we provide funds recharge service. And but those two are major functions, but there are other functions as well, like providing data to other service, for example, accounting. We connected to more than 900 financial institutions in Japan. And we have to make sure that people's money is in the right place, and it's very difficult thing to do because we have to communicate with more than 900 financial institutions. Next slide, please. And the other function is top up. Top up is from getting funds from ATM. User can recharge using ATM. Next slide, please. There's also payout function for customer to obtain their money from Mercari sales, but also for our business partners to obtain their money. Next slide, please. And in one of the three pillars of Merpay is credit. Next slide, please. In credit, we provide service based on trust. So if a person is trustworthy, we can increase the limit, how much they can get. Next slide, please. And also we have smart money service. It's a small sum loan based on Mercari usage. Next slide, please. And as we mentioned before, there's balance service where we can see the wallet usage. Next slide, please.
Yeah, so to the engineering organization that we have within Merpay, if you go to the next slide, this is quite similar, or actually very similar to the other presentations that have been mentioned earlier. So we have engineering managers, usually a tech lead, and then a few engineers per team. And we try to make sure that we have really close integration with our product side as well. Naturally, this is what makes the success of anything that we build. So there's a very close tie between our product and our engineering teams as well. If you go to the next slide. Again, the technology that we have is actually very similar to the rest of the Mercari group. This is not a coincidence. It works quite well. So we use Google Cloud, Kubernetes, Spanner, Go, all of these good buzzwords. If you go to the next slide.
And in Merpay, we are also hiring for Mercari India as well. Next slide, please. So one of the three charm of Merpay is what I can say is relatively new technology, and we also have a big scale. We handle with millions of transactions every day, and also if you were to join Merpay, we can grow together as well. Next slide, please. So for people who we want is not only like what Mercari, but we also want people who are fairly familiar with fintech, able to understand about consistency and also security problems. Next slide, please. So that is presentation from Merpay. Thank you.
Thank you.